You're listening to Scale Right Revolution, the show to follow if you're a high-achieving founder, business owner, or entrepreneur running a 7 to 8 figure company and you're ready to create your next level vision and make a bigger impact without missing out on life. I'm Tori Boats, an award-winning serial entrepreneur and the creator of an unconventional strategic advisory company where our mission is to help you revolutionize how you scale and pursue your most ambitious goals yet, while feeling lit up in your business every day. You deserve to live a fulfilling, wealthy life, balanced with family, friends, rest, and joy. So let's dive in. And before we do, hit that follow or subscribe button. Okay, business owners, there are 3 big mistakes I see you making when you're trying to scale, expand, pivot, or start your next chapter. 1 is using time in the wrong way. You're iterating on business plans or other time-wasting activities. 2, more of the same hard work and exhausting yourself on the hamster wheel. And 3, the inability to correct course when sacrificing happiness becomes your new norm. In this episode, we're going to cover what you can do instead so you don't get caught in these 3 common traps. Welcome to Your Formula for Success series, where I'm sharing that success can look very different from what's traditionally done or expected, where you can gain an advantage from proven formulas and lessons learned without being stifled in your own creativity as you carve your own path to greatness. I hope to make you stop and say, wait a minute, I don't have to do life or business this way anymore. I have the power to change, to rethink the next phase, to move around the obstacles and do things my way. This series will challenge your thinking in a good way to get you moving forward in the right direction. I have this system I've created. It's called the Visionary Advantage System. And I like to say, you don't need another business plan. You need the Visionary Advantage System. So I thought today I would tell you what I mean by that, because there is a place for business plans, but when you're looking to build a business that's scalable, that's interesting to attract people that help you build the business, a business that can thrive and carry forward that vision and values that you've envisioned, it enables you to step away while your business still grows. And you've got to start at the beginning. And the beginning takes place much sooner than the business plan. So I found myself iterating on business plans. And, I think that should be a drinking game now. Every time I say business plan, you get to drink. But anyway, I found myself iterating on business plans because I was trying to figure out my next move. And my next move was either to scale the business I currently was running. We were at, I think we were at about 15 million in annual revenue. And I wanted to get to the next level. We had 75 employees, and my next level was 150 employees. So I was trying to find a creative way to get there because what got me here won't get me there was very much true in that moment. I wasn't able to really inspire my leadership team to know what to do next. We kept doing more of the same, and I found that my team was just exhausted. I was exhausted. I felt like everything I was doing wasn't going to move the needle enough to get to that next level. So I went to the drawing board on that. And in the mix of trying to figure out what was next for my company that existed, I was also trying to figure out what was next for me personally. I was exhausted, as I mentioned, and I wasn't happy. I was miserable doing what I was doing. I wasn't feeling creative. I couldn't think of the next thing. And my leadership team was just staring at me, expecting me to have all the answers, which is a lot of pressure when you're not quite sure because you've never done it before. The inspiration wasn't there for me. And I kept looking around at other businesses and studying what they had done to grow to the next level. And it wasn't really becoming apparent what I needed to change in order to make that leap. So as I was trying to figure out what was next for my current business, I was trying to figure out my own escape plan. And the escape plan was originally scale so that I can sell for 100 million, and then I can get out of the business altogether because it wasn't my calling. It was just something I was good at, and then I can finally let myself do something that makes me happy. I can finally do that thing. And I didn't even know what that thing was. So part of me iterating through plans was to try to find that spark of inspiration for what was going to go in my professional bucket list next. What was I going to do next? What was I going to aspire for? Because I had already achieved everything on my bucket list except independent wealth. And that technically wasn't a line item on my bucket list. I just had these images of how I wanted to spend my time, and I wasn't able to do that in my business, running my business the way it was. I didn't really understand at that time that there are other ways to run a business. There are ways to build your team such that you can take a step back, you can take a step out, you can hire leadership at the highest level that can take over for what you do. That wasn't even a concept that I was familiar with at the time. So as I was looking for different ideas for my business and for myself, for my exit plan, I was also looking for my escape plan right now. As in, I can't take any more. I can't put more on my shoulders. I can't do any more growth because I'm so full. My plate is full. What can I do instead? How can I go to the other side of the fence where the grass is greener? I literally had a vision in my head of the grass is greener pasture. I was on my side of the fence and it was dark and dull and gloomy and the clouds were black and heavy and low in the sky. It was ominous. And over there, when I looked on the other side of the fence, it was beautiful. It looked like a Bluebell commercial. Bluebell is this ice cream. I grew up in Texas and we love our Bluebell ice cream. It is like the best. In fact, a lot of restaurants actually serve Bluebell ice cream. If you have vanilla ice cream on the menu, it's typically Bluebell. And they also have a good chocolate, and I could go on and on about the flavors. But anyway, I could see this beautiful green pasture, brightly lit with light and sunshine, a rolling hill, some Brahma cows in the background. It was glorious. I just wanted to run through that field. And then as I was imagining myself running through this field, people would pop up out of the grass, which is kind of funny because I must have got it from this Bluebell commercial, because the Bluebell commercial has a girl popping up out of the grass with her cow. So I could see these people popping up along my way with huge smiles. They were like welcoming me, almost like you would imagine a field of hippies back in the day, back in the 60s, welcoming you into the fray, into the beautiful meadow with flowers. And you might not think that has anything to do with business or that I'm whacked way off my rocker, but that's how I felt. That's what I was craving. And I wasn't getting it where I was. So I thought, if I iterate on my business plan, that's what I need. And I tell you, that is not the answer, because I kept doing that over and over. And that brings me into the 3 biggest mistakes that I see myself had made in the past, as well as my clients making when they're looking to scale from 7 to 8 figures. And they're wondering, how do I get there? What's the best way? What are the shortcuts? Now, I say shortcuts meaning what are the lessons learned that can help them make the right moves and learn from other people so they don't really waste time making mistakes. You're going to make mistakes. They're well aware of that. And you're well aware that you can't really skip steps and take shortcuts to get your business foundations to the point where you can really take off. And even if 8 figures isn't your goal, it doesn't have to be for these ideas to really cement and work. It's just the idea of how to take yourself forward as you expand and grow or pivot or start the next chapter. Okay, so mistake number 1 is using time in the wrong way. When you're iterating on business plans and you're doing other time-wasting activities, trying to find the right time, it's how you spend that time and waiting to perfect the formula or waiting to perfect the plan or waiting to have the vision. Sometimes your time could be wasted looking for the spark in all the wrong places. So when I say that you need to go back to the beginning, what I really mean isn't even the idea of your business. It's before that. I call it the genesis point. The genesis point is that moment in time where you're like, I have my business idea. And that doesn't always appear when you're looking around in your surroundings and the external for it. It comes from internal. And sometimes that internal is something that is personal to you, that gets your interest, that sparks your creativity, or that sparks your curiosity, which then leads to your creativity. It's that moment, that genesis moment. And a lot of people that teach folks that are looking to get into business, a lot of them that teach how to start your business, they start assuming that you have your business idea already. But what happens when you're already in business and you've lost your passion, or you've lost your creativity, or it doesn't feel like you know where you want to take your business next? It's almost like your vision needs a reboot and you have nothing to feed it. So we're searching for this inspiration. I remember looking to start my next business. This was, I think, my third business. So I was looking to start my third business, and I couldn't figure out what that idea was going to be. So I started looking at other people's programs to try to figure that out. And they all assumed that I had my idea already, but I didn't. That genesis point, that seed that I'm talking about, is really about looking for what interests you, what curiosity you have, what excitement you have, and taking the limiters off, taking the limitations of, it's not possible, I don't know how. That's a hobby, not a business, so it won't make money. When you let yourself take those limitations off, you can start to figure out what is inspiring to me. And then you give your brain a very different problem to solve. Because instead of saying it's not possible, it's how can this be possible? How can it be possible? And if you're in an existing business, which most of you are, how can it be possible given the current business that I have? And that's where you get to go back to the root of that inspiration to find the feeling that's driving it. What is it? What's the change you're trying to create? Which could be a physical change. You're seeing a product need or a process need or a caregiving need that you've noticed. Maybe you have a sick child and you're noticing a lack in the system and you want to correct that lack. Like, you might see an actual place to fix. And it may have nothing to do with your current business until you try to find that juxtaposition, that intersection where you get to make it meet up with what you're doing now. How can you meet that need with your current business? It might be spurring from your personal life, like mine was. I was looking for more fulfillment, more joy out of the work I was doing. And I didn't know how to do it in my current business. So I was looking for, in both the example from earlier where I had an established business and the point where I was trying to create my next chapter, both of those inflection points in my life, I was looking for the inspiration for what was next. And for me, it became my lifestyle. It became trying to find a better way to do it. There has to be a better way than this. There has to be more for me than this. That's what I was thinking in those moments. So when you're constantly iterating on a business plan without taking a step back and looking at the genesis of that idea, without looking for inspiration outside of your current business, outside of the business book, outside of the normal, traditional tools that we have for building businesses like SWOT analysis and business plan templates, when you take a step back to allow yourself to be infused with all kinds of things, imagery and feelings and inspiration and your gut instinct, what is it saying? So often we shut that off, especially when we're doing pen to paper exercises for our business, trying to fit it into a model. So that is my idea of how we may be using time in the wrong way, and what to do instead is to really go back to that point of genesis, to find that thing that ignites your impact. So mistake number 2 that I see is more of the same hard work and exhausting yourself on the hamster wheel. So when you use money as your main criteria to make a decision, realize that when you're looking to scale to that next level, to exponentially grow your business, we're not looking for more of the same. And if hard work is what got you here, and now you're in this place, you've done all the grinding, you've done all the hustle, and now you're in a lovely place with your business that feels like you could stay here forever, but there's something else calling you to grow more. First, examine that growth. Where is it coming from? Is it a good place that it's coming from? Or is it from a place of lack or a place of, well, we grow because we're supposed to grow? Is it a supposed to? Or is it something that really is pulling you forward because you have more to do in the world, service-wise or even personally? So there's nothing wrong with money, but using money as your main criteria for major decisions that direct where your life goes can be a really dangerous trap. It's that hedonic treadmill where as you reach your goals, the carrot keeps getting pushed further out because your brain really loves serotonin, really loves dopamine, and getting something checked off your list, reaching a goal, and then settling in and saying, both of those generate some really wonderfully feeling hormones. But your brain has to work harder to get those. So the carrot keeps getting pushed further and further out. And the further out you go, the more you grow your business, the more complex it gets, the harder it is to achieve, and the longer it takes to get that hit. That's why we love checking things off our to-do list, little miniature hits. But when it's your life, and folks, don't get me wrong, building your business is about your life because you spend a lot of time in your business, unless you specifically design it so that you don't. And no matter if you're spending a lot of time in your business or you're a workaholic and you're working way too much, both at work and when you get home, or you've designed the business so you can take a step back, you still have to look at how you're spending your life. What are you doing? Are you sitting on the couch all day and does that feel fulfilling? So when you look at money as that main criteria, it will take you into a place that may not align with the other values that you have, or simply put, the way you want to spend your time or live your life, or the feelings that you want. I'm talking a lot about feelings here because you are a human and you're doing business. You can't separate the two. It's just business. It's not personal. Baloney. You may not be attacking me as a person. You're attacking my weakness and the weakness of my business, but I'm still a person feeling all the things that are happening. And as much as I try to release myself from the outcome, to just let the outcome come if it may and not be attached to it, I still have my feelings in there. I'm still managing my emotions. And so are you, because you, like me, are humans, and humans have something in common: emotions. You can't take the emotions out of the human. So when you're making decisions about your business, you're making decisions that directly affect your life and how you spend your time. And when you're not looking at how you're spending that time, when you're working so hard and you're exhausted from all the work that you're doing, just think about adding more to your plate. Do you really want to increase the load and the burden? Heck no, you're already exhausted. How are you possibly going to do more? So I said in my previous episode on exponential thinking to get to exponential growth instead of incremental thinking, when you're trying to do the same work, when you're looking back at how you grew and you want to do more of the same, just more of it to get to a higher level, isn't the right thinking. So that's a mistake that you're making if you're just trying to do more and you're using money as your criteria, as your main or only criteria in some cases, to make a decision on which path to take. You have to take into account more criteria, more, a richness to the decision-making process. And you can do that outside of a business plan. You can do that if you have a system that incorporates priorities and values and options into the way you think about growing and scaling your business. And that is what's inside of the Visionary Advantage system. And you can follow it. I'll give you the model here coming up, but you can follow that without even taking any coaching or program or retreat from me. So I'm going to give you that, and it's going to help you with that mistake. So the third mistake is the inability to correct course when sacrificing your happiness becomes your new norm. This is centering the wrong things, and it leads to forgetting who you are. It leads to forgetting what's important to you, what your wants and wishes and dreams are. It's probably the most important thing to pay attention to, and so many of us don't. Because it's easy to say, and I used to say this to myself actually out loud, which is the scariest thing of all. It's okay, Tori. I'll just sacrifice my happiness in this short term because I can see the goal I'm trying to reach. It's almost there. It's okay. I'm just going to do it in the short term. And that's okay once in a while. The danger becomes when it's a habit, when it's the new norm, when you don't even recognize that you're doing it anymore. It's just so common. We need to take a step back when we're in that moment, when we're in that cycle, and say, whoa, what else do I need to be doing? Let me read you this little thing that I wrote for my summer. So every summer, I write down things I want to remember when I'm doing my 90-day plans. And this is what I wrote down. I'm kind of embarrassed to tell you this because why do I need to write these things down? Like, shouldn't I know this already? Shouldn't this be normal? Doesn't everyone value this in their summer? And I certainly do value these things, but I wasn't making time for them. I realized that I was working on this project that I had coming out. It was super exciting to me. I love my work. I can get immersed in my work. I now have found the work that allows me to obsess over it, something that I never thought was possible. I was in my tech job back in my computer science and engineering days, and I used to see people at their computer programming alongside me, and I knew that they really loved it because they would come in every morning and talk about all the things they learned about their computer stuff last night. They were obsessed with it. It was a hobby and a job. They loved it. I was very good at my job, but I didn't obsess over it. I did different things when I went home. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I just knew in that moment when I was looking at them that they were where they were supposed to be. They were doing work they were meant to be doing. They really liked it. I liked it okay, and I was good at it. But when I went home, I wanted nothing to do with it. I used to crave feeling like they did. I want to do work that I can obsess over, that I love. And now that I'm in that work, my new problem is to remember to enjoy my life too. So I think we're always learning. We're always iterating. So let me share this with you. Here's my list. Number 1, remember to relax and hang outside. Number 2, remember, enjoy your kids and spend time doing, quote, lawn activities, which means for me, don't just sit and watch TV with your kids. Actually do something. Do something outside. It's the summer. Number 3, remember tournaments can be fun. I can treat them like hangouts and a cookout with my friends. Okay, so that one needs a little context. My kids play lacrosse and we go to tournaments that last usually 1 or 2 days, sometimes 3. And I was just going through the motions of being there and not really being present, not enjoying it. I would sit around while my kid did warm-ups and hung out with the team in between games. And then I would go watch the games, and those were really fun and involved. But all the downtime, what was I doing? I wasn't really enjoying my time. So I decided I would be more present and actually have fun during those moments. Okay, and number 4, remember to hang in your garden and do an outdoor project. So it never fails. I put off doing outdoor projects that I want to do and some that I need to do, quite frankly, until the last possible moment. And before I know it, it's February and there is snow on the ground. I'm like, shoot, I should have done that when the weather was nice. So I find that I have to remind myself to take advantage of the nice weather and not just relax and hang out outside, but also to do a project that brings me joy because I like the outdoors of my home. And sometimes motivating myself to get around to doing those projects can be difficult. So that's what I have on my remember to do this summer is not just work, not just move projects forward, because summer is a great time to do big projects, but also have a life. Okay. So the inability to correct course when sacrificing happiness can be helped with a little list to remind you. And it sits on my desk and I look at it and sometimes I wonder, why did I write that? And then I read it. I'm like, oh, that's why. So maybe that can help you too. When I mentioned forgetting who you are, forgetting your wants and wishes and dreams, that's because when you get into that mode of workaholism or overworking or just doing the hard stuff all the time, let me give you an example. When you have a to-do list and you're checking things off your to-do list and you're feeling really productive and you get to the end of the week of an exhausting, productive meeting where you went to all the meetings and you did all the things and you were working and you can't remember what you did all week. You don't know if all the activity that you did actually moves the needle. That is not effective use of your time, so you're using time in the wrong way, mistake number 1. And you might just be sacrificing by doing. And sometimes that is burying yourself in the busyness so that you don't have to think about the business. Did you give yourself space to dream? Do you know how to take your company to the next level? Are you discerning about what's on your list? What's important, what's not? What you can eliminate, what you can simplify, what you can delegate? Where is your zone of genius? Where is your highest good? Are you doing it? Are you actually reaching your dream? Are you on the path? Do you know what your dream is anymore? Do you know why you're doing what you're doing? Do you know why you're growing? Why you want to grow? Getting really clear and specific on those things are key. Key to longevity, key to resilience, key to staving off burnout. And yeah, let's starve burnout. Nobody needs it. And if you've heard me talk about burnout before, you know that it's not caused from working a lot of hours. It's caused by sacrificing your happiness. It's caused by working on the wrong things. And it's caused by not keeping your priorities, all of your priorities, into how you work. So that is mistake number 3. And how you can correct it with a little list of remembering and knowing why it's so important to keep that in check. Happiness must be part of how you build your business because how you build your business is how you live your life. And your life is so worth being happy. It's so important. You deserve it. You deserve to be happy. And if nobody told you that, I'm telling you right now, you deserve to be happy. You deserve to have both a thriving business and a thriving life, a lifestyle, relationships you love, joy, happiness, hobbies, everything, time off. And you can do that without sacrificing either one. That's where I say, #no sacrifice. That's what I mean. I mean by purposely fitting both of those things in together. And I say both, even though I listed a hell of a lot on the life side and only one thing on the business side. We know that business can really encompass a lot of different things, but we usually lump it into one little category. And if you look at the wheel of life, it has a lot of categories on it. So we can take all of that into account. But usually when we're doing trade-offs, Health is a common trade-off, but that's usually a trade-off of time going to the gym. So that's usually a time trade-off. But when we think bigger picture, when we take a step back, it's life, my personal life versus my professional life in business. Those are usually the big buckets that we think of when we think of making trade-offs and trading our time. It's in one of those two areas. So let's transition into what you can do. I have 3 different ideas for you here. What can you do to scale your business and to do it in the right way with your vision in mind, to become the visionary? You're stepping into that role of CEO, but it needs to be about more than just the execution. You've got to be setting that vision so that you can attract employees who want to help you create that vision and grow, who are motivated by their own internal motivation because they see themselves in the story that you're trying to tell. And that story is a vision. And that vision starts with that genesis point, that seed that's personal to you. And then you expand that vision into being the story that gives your company mission. What is my company here to do? And what does it look like to fulfill that mission, which is the vision? And people are attracted to that story. They're attracted to that cause because you've taken it from something very personal to you and you've expanded it. And they can see themselves in that expansion. So can your customers. So can business partners or strategic partnerships, joint ventures. What are we going to do together? Are we aligned? All of those things are wrapped up into that vision. And that's why I called my system the Visionary Advantage System. We all want an advantage in our business. I mean, I know I do. If I can take an advantage to grow my business to the next level, or what I used to think is to beat my competition, now I think very differently about competition. It's still there, yes, competition still exists, but I just think differently about it. But your Visionary Advantage System is a way that you can grow. And need I say the name of this podcast? Scale Right. It's a revolution. Why? Because I think differently about how we can scale our businesses. It's a formula that you create your personal business equation. And it's about mastering your business, mastering your mindset, mastering execution. It's about 5 elements that I'm going to share with you right now. And it spells I GROW. A little acronym to make it easy to remember. The I is ignite your impact. This is about that genesis point that I'm talking about. Finding that idea, really infusing that idea with your ideals. The ideal about what's your ideal company look like? How do you want to spend your day? What is your highest good? What is the work you want to be doing? And what kind of lifestyle does that business allow you to have? And better yet, I like to flip that, and I like for your business to fit into your life. Because as you are growing a business, it's your life in business. So when I say life in business, how does your business enable the kind of life you want to live? That is igniting your impact. Because when you can figure out what your impact is in the world, you have a beacon. I call it the impact beacon. Why? Because it informs all the decisions that you make. I have a 4-part framework for decision making. And the very first part of that framework is your impact beacon. It's that idea, it's that feeling, it's that motivation, it's your vision that informs every decision that you make. It's your guiding light. So the G in I GROW is goal in the right direction. You heard me right. I did not say go in the right direction. I said goal in the right direction. Why? Because your business is made up of your goals and your strategy and your objectives and your action items, plus your metrics to know if you're on track. It forms not only your idea of the business itself, but the environment that you're creating. because your goals aren't just about the monetary objectives or the growth targets. You should also be looking at what's running underneath of that business. What culture are you creating? How are you working? What do you want to be doing? What is your ideal way that your team runs? What team are you building? What's the ideal way that you're organizing your business, that you're delivering your services? What services are you offering? All of these pieces is your business plan. So I say at the top, you don't need another business plan. You need the Visionary Advantage system. And in the system, you have a business plan. But when you spend all of your time iterating on it without all the other pieces, do you know if you're going in the right direction? Do you know if what you're creating will support the kind of life that you want to create? Do you know if what you're creating will actually get you to the bigger goals that you have, that independent wealth, or the impact that you want to create, or the social justice or social change that you want to make? So you have to have that bigger context, and you fit in to that context the goals and the changes that you want to make, the business model that you want to build. It could even be, if you're in a pivot or an expansion, how do I want to change the structure of my business? How do I want to design my business on purpose? That all fits into goals and into making sure you're going in the right direction. So the R in I Grow, it's probably one of my favorite parts of the whole model, is to revolutionize your role, rewrite the rules you play by, and build the right relationships. So the 3 R's. When you revolutionize your role, you're really defining your identity and your leadership capabilities in the company. That highest good, that genius zone, that flow, all comes from making sure you know what your job is and defining what that job should be and could be. And sometimes that requires you to revolutionize what you think about what your role should be, what you should be doing. And I'm saying should a lot here. And when you revolutionize that role, when you decide what you are going to make it, you get to break some of those rules. And that's the beauty of defining your own business, of building that business for yourself, of being an entrepreneur, being a founder, being an owner. You have the power, and sometimes we don't know it. Sometimes we're groomed. We're taking examples and cues from what we see around us, and they're traditional, stodgy ideas about what you should be doing. Or an old, what do you call those things when you write down your role? I can't think of it, but a job description? There we go. So a job description, but what if you don't want that job description? Do you get to change it? Abso-freaking-lutely. So giving yourself permission to create the role that you envisioned for yourself is about taking on that challenge and getting rid of what you may have been trained or were accustomed to doing. Rewriting the rules, this is a beautiful spot because you get to change what it means to be successful. The very definition of success is something that you can actually take a look at and change. That is how you start to rewrite the rules. The rules can also look like, when do you spend time at work? What are your work hours? For many of us, when you start your entrepreneurial journey, when you start your business, you're working the same hours that you worked in corporate, or you work the same hours you worked in the military. You're just used to working those hours, or you work the hours that you went to school. Hopefully in college, you learned that there's a different way to set up your schedule, but even there, you were still within a certain time frame unless you went to night school. And when you went to night school, were you not developing a habit of becoming a workaholic? I don't know. I mean, I went to night school and I went to day school and I worked a full-time job, all at the same time. I wonder how that contributed to my habits now. That's really interesting, isn't it? So we get to take a look at what are the rules I'm playing by. And there are so many rules. Those are just 2 small examples. And then building the right relationships, well, that's all about creating your positive support network and creating the other people around you that's going to help you. We'll talk about that next. So the O in I Grow, which is part of the Visionary Advantage system, is what I like to call OPP. Who down with OPP? Okay, sounds a little old school, but it helps you remember, and it'll help you remember that we want to optimize our operations and our opportunities. When you optimize how you're working, you're looking at not only your own productivity, but also the productivity within your business, your systems, your processes, the foundations that you give your company. And the foundations can be within the product and the product delivery, but also the functional services that make up the back office of your business, from finance to marketing and sales and contracts, hiring, talent, your HR department. Everything you think of when you think of a robust company is about more than just the product and the product delivery. How do those systems work together? How do they inform each other? Do they inform each other? A lot of times the marketing and sales department and the product development department and the client delivery department, they don't even talk to each other. And when you're a small business, when you're a solo entrepreneur, you don't even think that way. And as you grow out your first team, that team can either be your virtual assistant or your in-person executive assistant, or it can be someone helping you with client delivery. It can also be somebody helping you in the back end, your marketing. But as you build out your team even more, you start to bring on experts that can deliver whole functions. You may be outsourcing your accounting or your finance and your taxes today, and you may want to bring your accounting pieces or your bookkeeping pieces in-house. So as you build this team out, and then you go from experts in their field to bringing in department-level strategic leadership, your C-suite or your upper-level management, your executive lines, you're thinking again, how am I changing my business? How can I optimize what I'm doing? What is the timeline that I'm bringing these functions on? What makes sense? Can I afford to bring these things on? And when? What does my cash flow look like? So optimization, peak performance is about more than just your personal productivity, but we cannot forget that either, because all the pieces of the model fit together. If you're going to have a goal and have part of your personal equation in business, which is driven from the idea, that impact, that beacon that you have to build your company that thrives and a life that thrives together, it trickles into the strategy and the design and structure of your business, which trickles into your role, the leadership that you will be delivering, the skills that you'll be building, the team that you'll be building as well, and then into operations. How are you going about your day every single day? Because happiness is not something you buy after you sell your company. Yes, money to a certain point makes you happy because you're not stressed about where your next paycheck and food is going to come from. And yes, money buys us experiences that make us happy, but only if you decide that you're going to be happy in those experiences. And why wait? Why wait till retirement to enjoy your life? You can enjoy your life right now every single day, and you do it in the way that you work, in the way that you do business. And the last part of I Grow is the W. This is win the game. There are 3 W's that make up a winning equation: worth, wealth, and well-being. Worth, when I'm talking about worth versus wealth, you may think, oh, worth is my net worth. But no, I'm talking about worthiness here. I went through a point in my life where worthlessness was how I felt. I felt like a discarded rag doll in the gutter on the side of the street with dirty rainwater washing through me. I was soiled and dirty and thrown away. That's how I felt. That is no way to live. I was successful, yes, but I felt unworthy. Sometimes good enoughness or imposter syndrome gets in the way. Are you bringing your vulnerability to the table? And what does that even mean? Do you have empathy? Do you even know what empathy means? And I don't mean that in a rude way. I did not understand what empathy was, other than, well, I know they had a death in the family and I'm supposed to feel some kind of sad or sorrow or bad for them or understanding that they may not be at work. But I didn't really understand because I didn't understand a core component of worthiness, which is compassion. Did I have compassion for others? Yes. Did I have compassion for the poor pound puppies on TV? Yes. Did I have compassion for myself? Hell no. Because I didn't understand it. I've never lived that way before. I had to learn it. And then wealth, absolutely there's a place for wealth. Money mindset is a huge thing, because if you think that rich people are evil and you want to be rich, but you don't want to be evil, you want to be good, there's a conflict there. Resolving that conflict is what we do in the space of winning the game. That worthiness and your wealth and your money mindset, they go together. And I don't mean charge your worth and all that crazy value talk and pricing. We talk about pricing and optimizing your operations. This is about how you're living, what you're believing, what goals you have. The goals that form that vision of your life, if they're in conflict with each other, if you're wanting to be successful, and when you imagine being successful, it feels overwhelming, do you really think you're going to put your best foot forward to be the most successful that you could be? No, because you're in conflict and you may not even know it. You got to pull that out, pull it to the surface so you can work on it, so you can see that, oh, wait a minute. No wonder I'm procrastinating. No wonder I feel stuck. No wonder I dwell in this idea that I don't know what to do next. So you want it and you don't want it. Money is a good thing. Money can do good things with good people who have enough money to, maybe you want to be a philanthropist. How can you be a philanthropist in the way that you want to if you can't even afford your own lifestyle right now, like your mortgage and the basics? So that's how you can start to shift that idea of wealth. And then well-being. Well-being is, how am I treating my body? How am I treating my mental state? How am I feeling? I talk a lot about feeling, even though this is about business and business growth and scaling, because as I said before, we're humans. Well-being is very important because you have to survive your own life in order to have the longevity and the resilience to grow a business, because resilience is all about bouncing back from setbacks. If anybody knows about giant-ass setbacks, that's me. I needed to be able to have the ability to bounce back from that. And sometimes that means taking a step back, taking a slow moment and healing from trauma, healing from just understanding how I'm feeling and dealing with that out in the open in front of me, instead of stuffing those feelings down into my pocket or pushing them under the bed or ignoring them, saying, I don't have time. I was the queen of saying, I don't have time for that right now, to feel that pain. I don't have time to hope that one day I can escape to that grass is greener space. I don't have time for that. I've got to get busy. I got to get to work because I have goals to achieve. I've got to get to my 100 million sales price so I can escape. All of that piece, all of that is in well-being. Not just your physical health, but your mental and emotional health. And physical health, oh goodness, does that take a back seat quick? I'm in a season of my life right now where physical health is the utmost importance to me because I'm suffering from Lyme's disease. I'm going to beat that sucker. We're going to get rid of it. And it takes a lot of work, concentrated work. Because when you have Lyme's, it develops an autoimmune disease or disorder or whatever the heck you call it. And then I can't eat things without swelling, without being in pain. I'm in pain right now. Why? Because I slipped up in my meal plan. Not a meal plan someone gives to me. I manage that myself. I'm learning how to manage that myself. I'm learning with my functional medicine doctor. I'm learning with my physical trainer and my nutrition trainer. But I slipped up. I didn't resist the dessert table. It was too hard in that moment. And guess what? The beauty of well-being, the beauty of worthiness, the beauty of compassion is the grace I get to give myself. So you get to give yourself grace when you mess up. And the beauty of messing up, of having a failure moment. Did I set out to fail? No, I didn't. I saw something I wanted and I went for it and I failed. I failed because I forgot about my bigger why behind the whole way that I eat. I'm doing it for my health. I was too far removed from the pain of not being able to walk, of shuffling like I was, I used to say shuffling like I'm an 80-year-old, but now I've learned that 80-year-olds aren't necessarily crippled. You could be just as crippled at a younger age as you can at 80 or not. So I'm even learning that. I'm even changing the way I think about health and when I'm older and what that even means. And when you're in business for the long haul, when you're trying to build something that has an impact on your life and on the lives of others, well-being has to be a core component. When you're trying to do business mastery, execution mastery, and mindset mastery, well-being is every bit a part of that. Health and mental and emotional. So part 2 of this, how do I do things differently, is having the container at the right level. That means when you're working with other entrepreneurs in your space, colleagues, you can be at the same level or not. So let me give you an example. I used to be on this board of advisors, and this was the type of board of advisors that we advised each other on each other's businesses. So we were a board of other owners and C-level executives in different businesses. And we would advise each other on growing our businesses or maintaining or any problem and issue that came up. We would meet once a month. Everyone would share an issue they were having and get feedback. And it was a beautiful model. I really enjoyed it until I realized that nobody at the table, I think there were 20 of us, no one at that table could help me with my problems in my business. Why? Because I was at a completely different level than they were. I was getting contracts for $5 million. Their business at most in a year was $300,000 revenue, maybe $500,000 in revenue. So they couldn't understand the magnitude of the problems that I was having. At one point, I had a coup on my hands. Some of my managers and employees were getting together to do a mutiny. And I was not having that. It's my business, my risk that I was taking. Who do they think they are? But what do you do in that situation? So I went to my counsel, I went to my advisors, and I said, I'm having this problem, what do I do? And they're just looking at me dumbstruck because they don't even have directors. So the magnitude of the problem was different. They couldn't appreciate that I was trying to grow to $25 million in revenue a year because they were happy doing $300,000 to $500,000 and hiring their 5th team member. So when I talk about the container at the right level, it's not just about surrounding yourself with the 5 people. What is that thing where you surround yourself with the 5 people or you become who you surround yourself with, the 5 people that you spend the most time with? It is about that, but it's also about making sure the network that you're in, that you're getting advice from, that you're able to share your business with, understands the context. So if you go to a PTA meeting, I never went to a PTA meeting. I guess I did go to PTA when I was younger or when my kids were younger. But when I talk to moms that I met at soccer or lacrosse, most of them are not business owners and they didn't understand why I was so unhappy because I was trying to grow my business, they would actually say to me, well, isn't what you have enough? Like, shouldn't you be happy? You have the house, you're in the right schools, you have the money to spend on lacrosse. Like, they actually were talking to me like I was wrong for wanting more. And they weren't asking the right question. The right question, and this is because they're not trained as coaches, they're not trained to counsel people through this, but the right question isn't, why are you not happy where you are right now? It's, how can you look at what you have right now and be grateful for it and use that as motivation to move forward? How can you generate that feeling of being satisfied right now so that you have the energy for what's next? So that brings me into the third thing that you can do, which will feed into your own visionary advantage system, or the system that you decide to follow to get you to that next level, is that the container alone, even if it's a positive support network, it's not enough. Having a supportive coach or having the right people that understand how to help you resolve big issues, that is another key to the puzzle. I have trainers in my life. I have a business coach, even though I am a business coach. It's so important. It's vital to how I decide to grow my business. To have that, not just a sounding board with other company owners, but to have somebody trained and qualified to know how to help me work through that problem. You see, I've had a lot of mentors in my life and other business owners that I would bounce ideas off of, but they wouldn't know how to help me get to the answer. So I used to ask, I have two ways I can go. I have option A and option B. And I would go to lunch with one of my business friends or business mentors. And I would say to them, I don't know which to choose. Which do you think? And you know what used to bug me the most is when they would all say the same thing. I don't know the answer. That's something you have to decide. Well, you know what? If I knew the answer, I wouldn't be coming to you for help to try to figure out the answer. So that right there shows me that they're not qualified to help me work through the problem. And your normal business consultant doesn't always have all the tools that a coach has, because they may help me do the esoteric, traditional business model. Let's do a SWOT analysis. Let's do an ROI. But I've hopefully shown you here that that isn't enough. There has to be something else that you feed into the mix, because you want to build not just money success in your business, but a thriving business and a thriving life to go with it. So the other programs and groups may only focus on those tactical parts and barely scratch the surface on the human experience that you're having with your life and business. They won't even talk about the W, the winning the game. It's not even in their mindset to think about mindset. It's not in their bag of tricks. Creating that strong shell won't hold up if the woman behind that is faking the smile, building up their own hype so that they have the strength, and they're hiding behind, I know what I'm doing, as a facade, but inside they're feeling like, I have no idea what I'm doing. So let's look at that, get to that confidence place, figure out what it is, work on the weaknesses, bring the weaknesses out into the open so they can be worked on. Yes, there's the whole thing about strengthen the saw instead and look at your strengths and make them better. But I think more complex as humans that we are, that it's more about working in your zone of genius, working where your interest is, making sure you're curious and engaged so that your creativity comes alive, and taking a look at where you have questions, what you want to build on, your leadership skills. They're something that you build. And before you build them, they can be a weakness. So let's stop ignoring those. Let's look at everything and get somebody that can help you do that. Someone who takes a holistic approach. That's why I take a 360-degree view of your business. So if you're looking for someone to support you, look for someone who also takes a 360-degree view of your business, of your founder's experience, because you can shape your founder's experience and your life in business. So my challenge to you is to look at these three pieces. How can you look at the I Grow model and look at how you're designing your business against that model and see if there are any holes and make an agreement with yourself to change it, to better yourself, to better your business at the same time. What container are you in? Examine that container. Are you in the right container? Are you in the right group of people? Do you have your positive support network giving you power? And are you going it alone? Or is this an opportunity for you to find the right support? And if you find that support, my challenge to you here is to find more than just a traditional consultant. There are times when you want a specialist in finance to come in and set up your books or to correct your money so that you can get through an audit, or to come in and give you an SOP and a process to follow and to train your people on how to do dunning, how to call up when money is in arrears. But then there are also times when you as an owner need the support to become the visionary of your business, to become the very best that you can be and to build that business that contributes to your life. So that's my 3 challenges to you, friends. If this podcast inspires you in any way, I invite you to take this further. For every client I work with, whether it's one-on-one, a VIP day, or a long-term engagement, we use the Visionary Advantage system as the foundation. You can step right into using my system for yourself with a free gift from me to you by visiting toriboats.com/advantage. Inside, you'll find a new way of thinking about how you scale your business so you can continue to run at the highest level without missing out on life. Plus, simple steps so you can take immediate action right now. And if you have any questions, you can email them to me. So, before the next episode plays, go to toriboats.com/advantage.